Hey, everybody, what's going on? Happy Thursday. Welcome back to The Big Thing. I'm me, and you're you. This is going to be a good one today. We have a very special guest, Andrea Riseborough, who you might have seen her in Birdman or in recently in Amsterdam or Oblivion. She's in a new movie called To Leslie, where I think she's nominated for an Independent Spirit Award, but I think it's an Oscar-level performance. But I had an opportunity to talk to her. She's awesome. She's really awesome. So we really get into it for about a half an hour. But before we even do that, we're going to go over some other stuff in the world of movie news. And some of that stuff is that big Ant-Man trailer, a huge Ant-Man trailer. And is this going to change the game for the MCU? Is it going to turn it around? As we talked about, or as you see in the title, that's going to be one of the main things. And another big thing, pun intended, Last of Us. That show is getting some major buzz. 100% around the board of every critic that's seen it so far. So we'll talk about that. And speaking of television, Roxy Stryer is here to talk about what you guys should be watching this weekend. So the three of us are going to have a limited but fun talk today. And you are going to be able to really listen to Andrea Riseborough. And I'm so happy that you got an opportunity to do so. I'm glad that I was able to do so. Thank you, Brett. Make as big of a message as you can. Just throw it all around. It's fine. So anyway, but before you do anything else, merchandising. The Black Knight, it's on sale now. Make sure you get it. It's starting to go quick. It's starting to be one of the big sellers right away. Excited about that. Patreon.com/thebigthingshow. Head on over there and join it. Please. And Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. Make sure you download the episodes and make sure you're commenting on these, because it's helpful. All right, everybody. It's the big thing. Let's do it. You ready? I'm ready. And scene. What up, everybody? How are you? It's Thursday. Roxy Stryer, Brett Sheridan, and thank you, by the way, to our friends over at Carbon Health. Always happy when they're around, and I'll tell you why. Here's what I love about Carbon Health, and if you didn't already know about Carbon Health, let me tell you. Now, you may know Carbon Health for its 120 locations that handles urgent care, COVID, RSV, and flu testing and vaccinations. But what people should be looking into is how they're expanding into primary care services that include connected health. What's connected health? It's the idea that our health isn't just about our bodies, but it's also about our minds. Carbon Health providers come connected with mental health specialists as well. Carbon Health is going to be expanding these primary care services further in 2023, and if you're in Massachusetts, you'll be able to access the connected care, since it's now expanded from California to Massachusetts. Carbon Health, it's an excellent urgent care and testing center, but don't sleep on their primary care services. All right, once again, thank you to our friends over at Carbon Health. Okay, so let's get into it, man. Roxy, what's going on? You got a grin on your face.
Yeah.
What's up?
It's like, first of all,
Yes.
Brett is killing me recently in the best ways and the worst of ways. Number one, Brett, when you whisper, the mic still, it knows. Like, whenever you start to talk, he looks at me and starts telling me something. He'll be like, but the thing is, and I'm like, I can't hear you, but somebody can. And
Somebody can.
And then it's
Easter
also
eggs.
like,
Is that wide shot driving you?
Yeah,
Says,
yeah.
go fix it. Go fix it. That's fine.
when you start the show too, it's like I think of it as like Brett's workshop.
Yes.
He's like
He does. He's like a 3-year-old.
like cleaning his glasses.
Yeah.
I'm listening to what you're saying, and out of the corner of my eye, this man is
can't
cleaning
help.
his glasses, fixing his drink, popping the microphone thing off, shifting my key, OCDing on the table. But it's like great because you're not on camera, but I still have to pay attention, and it's amazing, Brett.
Yeah.
Like it's Brett's workshop.
It's Brett's workshop. Yeah. Do you have any retort? Or
No,
guilty as charged?
Guilty as charged.
He's like takes his glasses like.
Yeah. Is that just like a nervous fidget or something?
Of course.
Yeah.
At home in front of the computer, I have little fidgety things that I do like during SCN and stuff like that. And Lydia made me a couple of them, just weird things like
Just
a
to do
marble
something,
and a little mesh thing. And I'm a fidgeter.
When the camera's off, he fidgets? He builds studios.
That's way better. What's a mesh thing?
Well, she made, I don't know what it was. It's like a plastic meshy thing with a little marble in it, and she taped off the ends, and I just kind of push it in and out. Like I don't.
Like you're a mouse.
I'm a little mouse.
Oh.
Like a cat. I'm like kind of like this all the time.
chasing the laser.
Okay.
Yeah, I might have some nervous energy.
That's
works,
right.
it
Yeah,
works.
it works for you. I like it. Speaking of nervous energy, Brett and I are doing a stand-up comedy show together at Flappers.
I didn't know.
February 13th. It's going to be
Wow, Galentine's Day?
the day before.
No.
Galentine's Day? What is Galentine's Day? What is that?
Oh, Galentine's Day. That's the day before Valentine's Day is like Gals Night Out, Galentine's Day. I
yeah, it
think
works for us.
Parks and Rec either made it up or they made it popular.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Maybe they make it popular at our show.
You know that you should advertise to all the Galentines.
I like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to be at I think 8 o'clock on. You can get it. It's Jake Lewis's show. So if you want to see Brett and I,
Oh, I loved when I went and he was there.
Yeah, he's
It's the
gonna be
first
there.
time I ever saw
he's
him.
great.
He's so good.
He's great. He sang his song. He sang the roommate song on this show when he was on.
When was he on?
A couple months ago, and he ended.
Where was I?
Not here.
Oh.
It wasn't a Thursday show.
We weren't here.
No, it was a Monday show, but he ended with his song and it was great. Fans loved it. Anyway, so you can check us out. Another thing I want to talk about before we get into the other news. Very excited about this one. This came out the other day. I also talked about it on my Twitter. Josh Horowitz, who I've mentioned many times over, he was a Schmodown competitor, but he's a friend as well. This just was released in Deadline. Happy, Sad, Confused podcast nears 500 episodes, and Josh Horowitz strikes a deal with Cast Media. Oh, that's the wrong thing. So here's some of the, just a little bit of the article so I can read it to you. Put on the...
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, there it is.
Did
All right.
Brett steal your glasses?
No, he's good. Josh Horowitz's Happy, Sad, Confused podcast is nearing 500 episodes, having featured interviews with the likes of Daniel Craig, Adam Sandler, Henry Cavill, Tom Hanks, and Mila Kunis. Horowitz has now signed a partnership with Cast Media to market, distribute, and monetize the show. It comes as the celebrity interviewer is putting up massive numbers for recent episodes, including more than 14 million for a recent chat with Kate Winslet in December. Horowitz, who covers film and TV for Paramount Global across MTV, Comedy Central, and Paramount Plus outlets, launched the podcast in 2014 and set it up on YouTube at the end of 2022. It features interviews with actors and filmmakers and hosts live taping from 92nd Street Y in New York. And Cast Media is behind podcasts such as the Sarah Silverman podcast and Rachel Bilson's Broad Ideas and The Twilight Effect. As part of the multi-year deal, Cast and Horowitz are developing premium live streaming and other content offerings for Happy, Sad, Confused fanbase. Happy, Sad, Confused is produced by Horowitz and executive produced by Scott Porch and Kristian Harloff of Big IP Media. Happy, Sad, Confused began as a passion project and as a way for me to engage with the actors and filmmakers I admire in sometimes deep, sometimes silly, and most importantly, always entertaining conversations, Horowitz said. Cast Media is the perfect home for bringing the show to a passionate and large pop culture obsessed audience. Now you can get a lot more of that. I mean, you can check it out, his article, his post on Instagram and everything too, and really happy to be working with him.
He gave you a nice shout out.
He did, yeah. So I mean,
Which it was earned, but
no,
nice,
absolutely.
yeah.
So Roxy had asked me too, and I think that one of the I've been a fan of Josh Horowitz for a very long time, and we'd kind of known each other ish through circles and stuff too, and I reached out to him I was probably 2021 to join the Schmodown, and through that I was watching his show and everything too, and noticing. We were friendly, and he did a live event and everything too. And then I noticed that he wasn't doing much with the podcast, as far as the YouTube side of it went. I mean, audio wise, he was crushing it, and his interviews are just, he's the best.
Completely obsessed with him.
He's the best.
Completely
He's the
obsessed
best because you know what it is. He's just so likable. He's a nice guy. People are very comfortable talking to him, and is a reason why he continues to get these relationships because. He's just a very inviting dude.
Yeah.
And he's real.
Yeah. People used to always say that I was very well prepared for all my interviews,
Yeah.
especially when we were on Collider, when they saw us
Yeah.
do our thing. There was not a single guest that we had on our show that I didn't look for his podcast interview with them.
Yeah,
Ever,
right.
not once, because that's how
I
you
remember.
prepare for it.
Yeah.
Always would pull from things like, oh, you said this on this thing. What do you think? Because he just asks the really smart questions. And like you said, he made people really comfortable. I was stoked when he went into the Schmodown.
Yeah, it was awesome to have him in this one. But it's also what he does very well is he knows how to get headlines, but he doesn't do it in a way that is just going for headlines.
Mm-hmm.
He makes it part of the conversation. He's done it very well. And he also understands, the guests know it when he's talking about certain things. Like, So anyway, we were talking about his YouTube channel, and I think he had launched it, and I don't know how many, maybe 600-700 subscribers, whatever. And I was like, I think there's a lot more that we could do with this channel, to be honest with you, than what's going on with it right now. And he's been putting in the work. He does clip outs. He puts the full episodes up now, and he went from like 600 or 700 subscribers. He's like 22,000 right now. He just went into the short. He started doing shorts now, and his shorts, both of his Kate Winslet shorts have like collectively like 5 million. So cool. He's crushing it, and it's well deserved because he's just a good human being. So I'm happy. And the other thing too wasn't mentioned inside of this report, nor should have it been, but this show is also with Cast Media now, and
woohoo!
Yeah, so we're very excited about that to be working with Cast Media, and they're going to be handling same type of stuff that they're handling for Josh's show. So things are moving for everybody, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited for this show. And yeah, we just been working really hard here, all of us, and Roxy crushed it yesterday on SEN Live. If you didn't know, Roxy's hosting. She's going to be, as long as she's available, all the live shows on the Kristian, Harloff and Friends channel for SEN Live, which is every Tuesday, unless it's that week that it's on Patreon. But yeah, man. So yeah, it's bigger and better things, man. Bigger and better things. So again, congratulations to Josh Horowitz.
What could be bigger than the big thing?
Yeah.
Well, Josh Horowitz has
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you agree.
That's my time to chime in.
Does it?
Yeah, there's nothing bigger than the big thing.
Nothing bigger?
No, I would say about the Josh Horowitz thing that you showed me, that little clip of all the interviews, the celebrities love him.
They love him.
Every single way. Oh, it's Josh, that kind of thing. That's got to feel great when you're doing that.
He's not out to get them.
No,
at
all.
Like gotcha moments.
No, it's like he's a fan. No, he's a fan, but he's also he just has a conversation. So if you haven't checked out Happy Sad Confused, please do so, because it's a great. I listen to when I do CAMEO show. I listen to it every drive. Because it's like an hour and 15 minutes to get there.
I so badly wish that he ended up on my Schmodown team. We had a conversation,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but here's what happened. Do you want to know?
Yeah, sure.
I felt like if I was going to draft him, I was going into business for myself. I've always wanted to be this guy's friend. Number one, I love his show.
Yeah.
I think he's very talented. Number two, Horowitz. So I've got to assume he's part of my tribe.
Mm-hmm. Italian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I was like, okay, but he said to me straight up, I don't have a lot of time right now. I can't like fully dedicate. And I took him at his word. and then he fucking balls to the wall.
He dove right into it. Because it was because I don't think you realized how much fun he was going to have.
Yeah, but I should have known. I've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
I should have known. They don't know what they're talking about
before
they come in. But I was like, oh yeah, okay. Well, I'm really looking for somebody who's really competitive and he was like, oh, I don't know, that's me. And I was like, oh yeah, fuck me, bro.
He was super competitive. He was really good too. He was really good.
Obviously, he's really fucking good, Kristian.
I know, that's true. But anyway, so go and check that out. All right, as we're gonna get to this interview in a little bit, but before we do so, we got some news, and we're gonna start. The first thing we're gonna start with here is Ant-Man. There's a lot going on with Ant-Man. Ant-Man and the Wasp, the trailer dropped, and Roxy, you get a chance to see the trailer?
Yes, Kristian, I did.
You did?
Not everybody
Mostly
did.
because I don't live under a rock.
Oh, really? You checked it out?
Now, listen, some people, if you didn't cover it, right?
That wasn't fair. No, we talked about it on SEN.
Okay. I know, I watched. So
yeah.
What did you think I was right?
Absolutely.
Of course.
100%.
Always.
That one thing I said was just like...
Yeah.
It brought clarity to me.
Yeah. Before that, you were not. It was cloudy.
I wasn't on board, and I almost wrote a letter because of it.
Oh, to who?
The person.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The one who you were talking about.
Yeah, but then what I said made it.
Kristian was on the fence, but I was totally against what you said. But then you turned me around.
It was the green wig element of it all that I just couldn't get into.
And the squirrel.
Well, no.
That didn't bother me.
It was
much.
Taste your own medicine.
A little taste of your own medicine. All right, listen, let's get into this thing because this trailer was really good. And as we said in the title of this episode, it's what does it mean for the MCU? Is it going to change the stakes of the MCU for Phase 5? And I feel like it has to.
Yeah. It's actually funny that I said no because I don't live under a rock. A lot of people aren't watching this trailer on purpose because it shows
gave away a lot. It did.
And I think we know that it has to change the stakes because of what it showed. There was just I was surprised. I thought that they were going to go lighter on the plot and heavier on the characters because who isn't going to see this movie? Who, everybody's going to see this movie. But really, based on what they showed, I feel like this is going to be a huge turning point and one of the reasons that we are entering into a new phase.
I thought we focused. I thought they showed a little too much. I think there was.
I'm kind of with you.
Yeah.
It's fine, but.
Yeah, I think they showed a little too much. There's a particular moment with Scott Lang in general at one point where it looks like they showed essentially the end of the film.
That line he says.
Yeah.
Because I don't even want to give.
I don't even
want to spoil
Yeah,
it. I haven't seen the movie.
But what it does pose, though, it poses in the trailer, which I was hoping for, was the threat that Kang is going to be. Like that, they did very well. And
so hot.
He's John.
Yeah, that's what you're thinking too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally agree.
I think he's the hot actor right now. I'll tell you that. That guy is just something. He's just got that thing.
Yep.
He's just
the big thing.
Yeah,
I don't know. You can maybe you get to meet him. You can tell.
He's got the big thing energy.
Yeah,
We don't know.
Nice,
It's not
nice
proven.
job.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Making a shirt.
Making a shirt. Big thing energy.
Big thing energy. Let's go.
Big thing energy. I like it. I like what you did there. Hold on. All right, I gotta shut the show down. But anyway, so I just think that they have to post, because if you look at the way Thanos was set up in the first couple of phases, right? He just kind of popped in at the end of Avengers in that post-credit scene. Shows up, I think, briefly in like a Skype call in Guardians, and then it's really it until he shows up in Infinity War, and then it's game on. So the way that they set up Kang is that it's not even Kang; it's one of his personalities, or the guy, whatever they call him in Loki.
Variant.
Yeah, it's a variant of him, right?
Yeah.
I'm super confused about different Earth versions and variants versus. There's variants, there's different Earths, and then there's the third one, which is the Skrulls.
Right.
So there's a lot of different.
It's a lot of different things,
yeah,
but he's
a variant.
He's a variant, and that scene will be watched 1,000 times over, even more so now, leading up to Kang and because I think you said it the other day that version of him in Loki is still, even though he's the good one, he's still kind of menacing.
You can tell that there's something.
There's something in there. There's a switch. There's a switch,
Yeah.
and you see this version of him and what Kang is, and that scene in Loki was like the same type of thing they did with Thanos, right? Like they just kind of teased him a little bit, and now this is the first time, because he's like the big bad of this thing. What can't happen though is like you can't. He can, again, like you said, I don't want to ruin that line, but you kind of have to because it's in the trailer. He can't lose.
Yeah.
Even they say like we both can't win or whatever. Is that what he says?
He
Or
says,
we both have to lose.
I don't have to win. We just both have to lose.
Yeah, that's right.
But it depends on how he loses. Because if he loses in his first movie, it's like, how intimidating of a villain is he? He's got. I mean, like Thanos won in his first movie.
Are you thinking this is Ixnay on Ant-Man?
No.
Nah.
Except for that line where he said, "I can't believe I died here in the quantum realm." Did you see that part in the?
I bet you I bet you Ant-Man dies like 5 to 10 times in this movie.
Yeah, maybe.
I bet you he dies a bunch of different times.
Oh, so
What about
that's
Wasp?
No, I think she'll make it.
Not very heavily featured in this trailer.
No,
Her haircut is. You like her
Yeah.
haircut?
Oh man, isn't that a horrible haircut? Am I wrong in this? Pull it up.
I'll
Cody?
show- well, actually, I'll show the haircut.
I don't think so. I don't remember thinking that.
Well, you're wrong.
Really? Let me look.
I've been saying that lately, by the way. If someone in an argument, if someone says something like, "So you don't like our haircut?"
No.
I don't believe you.
I don't even know how I'll find it. Wasp.
I don't believe you. You don't like that haircut? I don't believe you. And that's how I'm going to start answering people back now. I don't believe you.
I don't believe you.
I don't believe you. Nothing you're saying is true here. I don't believe you, right, Roxy?
I guess. What
Gaslight
did her
him.
hair look like?
It wasn't. It was up. It was short.
Oh, it looks kind of like his.
But you don't like short hair.
You just don't like.
No, I like long, luxurious hair
Yeah.
like Roxy's.
The only time I ever
See?
remember seeing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. See, he compliments your hair, and you just blew right past
Yeah.
it.
I suck at compliments.
No, you don't. You revel in them.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You just go like this. You know?
Oh, really?
Easy breezy, beautiful.
Yeah.
Are they covering up my dimples?
That's right.
No, I'm atrocious at it.
Let's go, Dimps.
The only haircut I ever remember not liking, legitimately ever, is Charlize Theron in
What?
it's gotta be
Mad Max?
I think Fast and the Furious. Is that what?
Oh.
It's like that weird bowl situation.
I don't remember. I don't remember it.
I gotta look it up, and you guys will
But
be like,
how do we get
no.
on here? Let's move around.
So
I did. Yeah, I did. But I think she survives. I think.
Yeah.
You know who could crap out is Hank. Hank and his wife, Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer could go.
I could see that.
Don't worry about the haircut.
And that's an easy enough.
It's not good.
It's not good.
It's not good.
It's bad.
Yeah, that's not good.
Text that to me, and I'll put it up.
Pull it
later.
up.
Yeah.
No, I think, and that's a safe kill in a way. You know, like
because it's devastating, but
it's devastating, but you're not like it's not like a character you're gonna go like, oh well, now
Right.
what do we do now? You know, so
the thing that this trailer, really did was it has stakes, and I think that a lot of minus Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, I don't feel like a lot of the other movies had stakes. Right? This is. And people can argue with me. It's fine. Go ahead, have a blast. But I feel like over the overall phase, and I think that this is showing that not only for the events of this film, but I think that this will start to have stakes for Phase 5.
Do you mean stakes for the MCU?
Yeah.
Yeah, not just for the movie.
Not just for the movie.
Other movies that obviously have stakes within the
of
film.
Of course. I meant stakes for the overall through line of the.
I do think it's easier. Not to play devil's advocate, but it is a little easier to have stakes when it's your third movie and you have the biggest villain that's coming into it. Like that, I think that they are set up to have stakes. But yeah,
absolutely.
Chimichurri on top.
Yeah, I mean, well, they need it though too because it's the first. Because Phase 4 has been divisive, and I think Phase 5
lackluster a little bit.
Right. Yeah, and I think that as far as an overall phase, right, and if you come out with the lead villain of the guy who's going to be the main guy in the Kang dynasty and all that stuff, and then really punch us right in the mouth in that first movie, and then you follow that up with Guardians, and then you got the Marvels. I mean, that's a big year if they can deliver on all three of those. And I think the Marvels will be the lighter of the tone.
I'm so excited for the Marvels.
The trailer looked really good. I'll tell you, we just rewatched Captain Marvel the other day. Liked it less than I did when I saw it the first time. I think that she needs the help with the other two. Do
you think the actresses?
I love Brie Larson as far as her performances in independent movies and smaller movies. I think she's a really great actress. She is very acty in Captain Marvel when you watch it back. Like she does.
Did I hear you say she should smile more?
Definitely not gonna say that. No, but
I'll say it.
No. I think she's just she's. And it could be the directing too, hence why they're not coming back.
But character, just there's so many elements.
It's like these little things, and it was definitely direction as well. Like she's in the middle of the hall, she's just, and it's like these little moments that just aren't. It's not great. It's not necessarily her fault because it could be direction, but the term is used too many times. But I think it's accurate in this. She feels wooden in the performance sometimes. I think there's other things going on that are fine. But I do think that with the addition of the other two Marvels, I think it's going to play more of like a buddy action film. And I think that's going to benefit her tremendously. I think she's going to be able to bounce off. Because those are the best moments of Captain Marvel is when she's bouncing off people.
I haven't rewatched it in a while. I remember I really liked it, but I think that just in general, I like group movies. I like buddy movies like that. And especially, I don't think we've seen, I guess going over to Camp DC, Birds of Prey was more of a woman buddy movie. And I fucking loved that movie, even though it bombed. But I think that had a lot to do with COVID. So yeah, this looks awesome to me. I'm so excited for it.
So either way, though, it starts out a good year for Marvel if they can deliver. I think that they're going to have, Guardians 3 is probably going to, I think box office wise will be the biggest out of the three. Guardians 3 will be the biggest.
You think Guardians 3 is going to be bigger than Ant-Man?
Yes, because Ant-Man comes out in February. Ant-Man comes out in February, and it's going to get hit with a lot of competition.
How much did Ant-Man 2 make? How much did Guardians 2 make?
Ooh.
Off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head, if I was to guess, I would say that
100 million.
Guardians 2 far surpassed Ant-Man 2 in box office, if I was to guess. But you're going to check it out?
Yeah, I am. I think that might be true, but knowing what's happening with Ant-Man here, I'm almost looking at this Ant-Man as, you know how Captain America Civil War is not really a Captain America movie? I kind of am thinking that for this Ant-Man movie.
I agree with you. This is going to be the biggest one.
Movie.
Okay, so Guardians of the Galaxy 2 made...
Worldwide?
Worldwide, $863 million.
863, okay.
So now let's see Ant-Man 2.
Okay.
Ant-Man Ant-Man 2 box office is $622 million, right. So $200 more million.
Was Guardians.
Yeah. You could definitely be right, and the months do help. But if this really is opening up Phase 5, and if this really is like you have to watch this to understand the MCU, we know Guardians isn't really going to be that. We know Guardians isn't going to be must see to understand what takes place.
No, but it's the end of it. But it's the end of the franchise.
Yeah, it is.
So I think it's the end of James Gunn.
You definitely could be right, but you could be wrong.
Yeah, sure. But I just think summer movies in the past, if you are going to bet a release in May will always do better than a release in February.
That's true.
And if there was no competition coming out for Ant-Man afterwards, then I would say, well,
what
maybe
is?
It comes out on like the end of February or middle of. It has like 2 weeks to really live on its own, and then everything comes out. Dungeons and Dragons, John Wick. Like there's like
your Flapper show.
My Flapper show. There's like 4 or 5. There's like 4 or 5 like major movies coming out in March.
But what about May? You got to think that there's going to be stacked.
Sure, but for some reason,
more people, more time to
more
see
people,
the movie,
yeah, and more people go and see it opening weekend and everything too.
If I had to put money on it, I think you're right. It's going to be Guardians, but I think it's going to be pretty close actually. I think that Ant-Man 3 is going to do really.
I do too.
Well.
I think it'll do well. I don't think it hits $1 billion, but I think it does well.
You think Guardians hits $1 billion?
Maybe.
You think this is going to be the highest grossing Guardians movie?
Yes, I do. I think that because it's the end. I think it's going to be it's from what people said from that Comic-Con trailer was really emotional. As I said, it's the last you're going to see him. Batista said this is his last time playing Drax.
They had this. I think the Christmas special probably brought in some people too that may have checked that out and then want to see the Guardian. You know, so I think that's why it has a leg up on Ant-Man, because it's, you know, I think it's more for the people that aren't like totally engulfed in it and just kind of watch one here and there.
I don't disagree with you. I think they're both going to do really well. I think, and this is not because of anything except those movies have been so grounded already. I think that Guardians does the best. Then Ant-Man, and then the Marvels. And Marvels has a shot to do even better too, because it's coming out in summer as well. It comes out in July.
I would be shocked if that movie did better than either of the other two movies, but I do think it will do well.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. It's going to make Ms. Marvel. She's going to be the star of the entire movie.
I love her.
She's fantastic. She's going to be the
really
star.
Good.
She's going to she already has gotten eyes on her from the show, but just the scene alone that they showed at D23. She stands out over the other two.
Did you finish the show?
I did. Yeah. Ms. Marvel. Yeah, I loved it.
Oh, even the whole way through?
Yeah, I loved it. You didn't? Did you not?
Okay.
Okay.
I like that one. I like that one, Rox. Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I think she is by far and away the best part of her own show.
Yeah.
Which is important. I thought the first couple of episodes were fucking great.
Yeah.
Sorry to everybody at home who hates when I curse so much.
Oh, is that something? Is that a thing?
Oh,
I didn't know that.
You do, because you deleted the comment.
Oh, I did? I meant on purpose. Go ahead, finish.
Come
on, go ahead.
So I thought that the first few were great. Then when we started traveling, I was like, oh, this show is too big for its first season right now. I just wanted to stay local and focus on her. And like, because I love coming of age stories like that. Like, I wanted to see what was going on with her crushes. I wanted to see her in school more, you know.
Okay.
And then
we wanted more of that Scott Pilgrim stuff.
And then we left, and it was like so big, and I was like, no.
The big superhero part of the show is the thing I like the least.
Yeah.
It was the family stuff that I liked the most.
The family stuff was so great, and when we left, it was just.
But she's fantastic.
Yeah.
She's fantastic. Anyway, so there's a lot to happen, a lot going on that's going to happen at Marvel with this phase, and very curious for what you guys think. What do you think? Go ahead and comment. Do you think that Ant-Man? There's a conversation. Will Ant-Man make more than Guardians, or Guardians will make more? Out of the three of those, rank them in the comment section. Rank how you think they're going to do from box office, not what you're going to like the most. All right, and before we have two other things to talk about. We'll just lead into the TV thing in a second for Roxy, but there's another piece of news concerning television, and that is The Last of Us.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, man. So, I had an opportunity to, I could have reached out to see if I could get the full screeners. It seemed like, did you get them?
No.
And I was like, you know what I want?
I had the same situation.
Right. And I said, I don't want to. I decided for this show, I don't want to do the screeners. I don't want to do the early reviews. I don't want to do any of that. I want to watch this every week, and I want to do the reactions to it, because already this show is getting a lot of hype. My dad knows about this show. That is definitely
crazy.
an indication of my dad's like, what's this Last of Us show?
Also, a lot of the episodes I hear are 90 minutes. So
I
it's
love that.
Wow. Yes, absolutely, but it's a lot to binge.
It's a lot to binge, right? So I don't want to do that. And it's got 100% already from the critics who have watched it. Critics' reviews of the new HBO series, The Last of Us, they are out now. And after 29 reviews, probably more since this, the series is charting, as of writing, at a perfect 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, along with a very solid 82 out of 100 on Metacritic out of 18 reviews. Essentially, every review dubs it as the best video game adaptation ever made and points to it as precisely what a good adaptation should do, honoring the original while also expanding it and improving in some areas. The few criticisms surrounding issues of pacing, saying the show does move a little too fast at times, with the first episode the weakest of the bunch. Others find a problem of this coming in the wake of other horror survival shows. All praise the deviations from the original game, especially episode 3, which seems to be the high point of the whole series, and many suspect it's going to be the one of the best to work. This is great. This is great news, because I think that, I mean, this is also HBO Max. It's just when they have it.
But it's an HBO original.
It's an HBO original, but it's on HBO
Max. Yes.
Right.
But there's still a difference between those two things. What exactly it is, I'm still unclear, but there is still a fucking
It's on
difference.
HBO. And so either way, it's on HBO, and it feels like every single time they do something that has like this hype around it, whether it's Sopranos, The Wire, freaking Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and Sex and the City, Entourage. It always works. It performs. It's never one of these things where you're like, oh, it's getting all this hype and people are really, this HBO show, it was all right. Nobody's watching it. It blows the fuck up.
As of this recording,
yes,
there are 61 reviews. It's at a 97 on the tomato meter.
And Bibbs gave it a negative review.
Probably.
Who gave it the negative review?
Let me look through.
If it's Bibbs, I'm calling him. I'm not even kidding you. If it's Bibbs, I'm calling him.
Okay, let me look. I'll go find it.
If it's Bibbs, I'm going to call him.
I'm hearing such great things about this, and it's not a surprise, because one of the reasons why a lot of video adaptations don't work is because they're lacking in story.
Right.
And what I hear from everybody who's played this game is that it has one of the most beautiful, heartfelt stories to it.
But it's also a little less about that too. It's a little less about the fact that this game itself doesn't have story. It's the fact that for some reason, that, as they said in this report, for some reason, every video game adaptation that is made, they deviate completely from the story of what made it special, because they always try to crunch it into a 2-hour movie, and they take away what was beautiful about Max Payne, the game, or they take these other things and they just change it because, like, oh well, they played it, we don't want to do the same beats. It's like, no, there's a reason why, the same reason you read a book and why people are excited about it. So if they're doing it this way and expanding, another reason why streaming works so much better than movies sometimes when it comes to, I think video games in general should always be on a big streaming service. Like God of War is coming out on streaming also.
Episodically, you mean?
Yeah. Not movies.
Just when you said streaming service, you don't mean like sometimes there's still like ABC, NBC.
No. I'm talking about more so like
just TV.
Yeah, more like more cinematic in the way that whether it's Paramount Plus or Amazon Prime or HBO Max or Netflix, like those, and the week-to-week series, like for video games, build, because movies, you just have to take out too much. These games, they just last, like they're so involved, these stories. And I don't know, man, I just think that this is going to be pretty special. And I wonder, because I know that the second game was pretty, again, divisive between fans, and I wonder if they're going to change up anything in 2. Because I haven't played either one of the games, and I know what happens in 2 because of what.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I remember everybody was livid about that. Not everybody.
Upset or
pissed.
Yeah.
Pissed.
Oh,
and I would hope, because I don't want to spoil it for people who don't know, but I hope they do change that, because it wouldn't make sense financially.
I don't think that's going to be in the first season, though.
No, it would be season 2.
I played the first one. I haven't played the second, but my son's done both of them and is totally stoked on watching this with me, which is, that alone is wonderful. Yeah. And
Daddy of the Year.
I think that as far as a story, an emotional story, he was 14 at the time he finished it, and he was just sitting on the edge of his bed, just like, wow.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know if you're gonna be able to handle the second one, Dad. And I was like, oh, really? Okay. So I did the first one. I want to do the second. I'll have to do it before the second season. But that being said, I think, stick to the story to appease the people that played the game. But the story alone is going to be great for anybody else.
I love that you're going into this show having played the game, and I know nothing about it. That's how often does that happen?
Yeah, right.
So neither of the two people who gave it rotten are bibs. Should I shame the two people it was or no?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's not shaming. It's their opinion. Yeah.
One of them was Barry Hertz from Globe and Mail, who I don't know.
What's his quote?
He said, "As hard as The Last of Us tries to convince its audience, and perhaps itself, that it can borrow from and elevate the zombie thriller, it is unable to deliver something genuinely new."
Okay. Whatever.
Some people use a lot of words.
Yeah, that's true.
The other one was Pat Brown from Slant Magazine, and he said, "By stripping the gameplay out of a game that's fleshed out by televisual tropes, the series ends up as mostly just the latter."
I mean, that's that's to be debated, right?
That's like your opinion,
I just wish there was one critic on Rotten Tomatoes. This is why maybe I should go to try to be a critic on Rotten Tomatoes that just said, "This fucking slaps."
Yeah, right.
Well, to do that, you probably won't get accepted.
But like, can anybody just speak? I'm so sorry, and I have a lot of critic
Go to
friends.
the audience reviews. You'll get a lot of that.
Just speak like a fucking person sometimes. Can you just say like, "Oh, this was dope. There was that one part that kind of pissed me off, but the rest of it, sickness."
Well, you just explained the difference between why
I'm not a critic.
No,
Yes.
no. But why film criticism has changed so much in the course of 10 years. Like when Ellis and I used to go to the screenings, we felt very out of place because we were the first people. Never know this, and why should they? Because we don't promote it as much. We were the first YouTube reviewers ever certified on Rotten Tomatoes. That came from being on a podcast with Matt Atchity at the time, who was the editor in chief. But there was nobody who was online doing reviews the way that we did it, or
As
just talking about
shows.
normally, right? But now it's like Stuckman and Johns and all those guys, rightfully so, are also on Rotten Tomatoes. But we would go to these screenings and we would look around and we felt so out of place because you see like a great writer like Alonzo there all day and like Leonard Maltin was there.
And it is a craft. I mean, speaking of Leonard Maltin, it's like what I just said has no weight on what he does. What he does is like
I know what
brilliant
you mean.
in a craft. But sometimes I read all the words and I'm like, well, did you like it?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the difference though, is that from the people who like that type of thing where they're reading it, and then there's people in the way that today is with TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. It's like people just want to turn on. That's why we were able to build something, is because there are things that some people just like to go and say, okay, I just want to hear someone talk about it the way I talk about it with my friends.
Right.
That's how Mark and I built our thing, is because of that. And now when I go to screenings, that's all I see. I mean, I shouldn't say all, but a majority, like I'll see you at screenings. I'll see people at screenings that we now like I remember going to a premiere not too long. It was probably a few years ago, and looking and saying, whoa, most of the people that I'm seeing here are either influencers now, YouTube critics, everything. Like I'm sure the print critics are here.
Yeah.
But they don't. It used to be like they were the majority. They were the ones that was like, oh my God, are we supposed to be here? Now I feel like it's the opposite.
I guess that's what I'm talking about, Kristian. I wish that the people that were doing these TikToks, YouTube, whatever, also had some kind of print something, so that when I'm reading reviews, it's like,
I think that they're there. You just have to.
I just have to scroll more.
I think that you normally see the top. What they do is they do have like a top critics thing.
Yeah.
So like the ones who have been around, and I think that's fair. The ones who've
Totally.
been
They're
there,
just so proper.
they've been there, but they've also
British.
been there for a long
They're not
time,
actually
so they
British.
get like the top critic status. But if you went through all of them, you probably start to see names that you recognized.
Oh, sometimes I do
Yeah.
see names I recognize, but yeah, a lot of times the way they write about things, I'm like, I
know.
don't even know.
It's interesting. All right.
What you mean.
Those
Well,
words
speaking-
are big.
Well, we're on TV now, so before we're gonna get to our let me do this.
What?
Let me do this before we do that. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens, AG1. I love it. I love them. I've been using AG1 for a long time, and I told you about it. I mean, I've been telling you about it. You guys know. You've been watching or listening long enough. You know how much I love AG1. I didn't have the time to take 1,000 different vitamins, and I just couldn't do it. So when Brett told me about it, I was like, look, let me try it. It tastes good. It puts everything all together. And I've been taking it for months. and I have my energy. I get better sleep quality. I love it. You just take 1 scoop of AG1 and you pretty much take like 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens, all of it. And you start your day right. It's the best. It's lifestyle friendly. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar. It costs you less than $3 a day, and you're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. I'll tell you that. It's the best. It's cheaper also than getting all the different supplements yourself. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews. It's recommended by professional athletes. It's the best. I love it. You guys know that I love it. I've been talking about it forever. We have it on the shelf. It stands out on the shelf. So if you want to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/bigthing. athleticgreens.com/bigthing. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, so thank you once again to our friends over at Athletic Greens. So, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Andrea Riseborough, she is an absolute wonder. I love her, and I love her into Leslie. It's just, I'm telling you, man, if you can find this movie, you got to check this movie out. It is powerful, it is emotional, and she is incredible in it. She's nominated for an Independent Spirit Award. Here's my opportunity. This was my opportunity to speak with her. We sat down in this studio. And here that is. I'm going to show you that right now. All right, everybody. So I have told you about it, and now I'm going to tell you again. So there are times that I just get really moved when I'm watching a performance, and I think that not only from the performance, the movie itself, To Leslie is a film that I was watching with my wife recently, and I think that it really strikes home to a lot of people because most people know somebody who has gone through a struggle, whether that person comes out of the struggle, fights through the struggle, whatever it might be, we've been there before. To Leslie really explores that and really goes down that path. And I'm telling you how much it really moved me when I was watching it because of stuff I've talked about with my brother and other things. So I think one of the main reasons that the movie's so special is because of the brilliant performance from my guest. She is nominated for a Spirit Award. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Andrea Riseborough. How are you?
Very well, thank you. That was such a lovely thing to hear.
I meant it. I meant every word of it. It was a really, really special movie. Very special performance. And I'm getting even a little emotional thinking about it because it was, my brother went through a lot. He passed away in 2018. It's okay. Sorry to open it up just like that right away, but I wanted to tell you how watching it and watching what you do and in this film and seeing how you can really bring that forward. And it's not just a performance. It's bringing this slice of life and showing what people are capable of. So with all of that said, tell me about how you were involved in this project in the first place and how it kind of came across for you going, I need to do this. I need to tell this story.
Yeah. I met Michael Morris, who's our director, on a show that I was doing here called Bloodline, which
Love it.
I enjoyed as an experience in some ways, but really Michael was but it was I was a bit at sea because I'm more familiar with film and so and theatre, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And Michael was our showrunner, and so he was like the keeper of the narrative. He was like my director.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was the one solid person that I relied on narratively and emotionally for everybody's story, really. And so I already felt very much like I'd worked with him, and he directed an episode or so, and then he brought me this script, and he was so moved by it. And on the face of it, this woman who is grappling with being human might not look very much like you could identify her at all with Michael Morris, the director. But I think that's the wonderful thing about what the film does, is that it's like spending some time with somebody who's struggling with life rather than looking at their life through the lens of judgment, reducing her experience to just being a mother, for example. And so you spend some time with this person, and I think because of that, when I read the script, I felt we could all see ourselves in her. And in some way, whether we've been in Leslie's position or we've orbited somebody like Leslie in our lives, there's a feeling of wanting to do well for those that you love and failing, because we're all human and we all fail.
That's absolutely right. And one of the things I was saying to my colleagues right before we started was that as we were watching this movie with my wife and I, she had said, "This is rock bottom. This is rock bottom where this woman has gone at the moment, and we didn't know." And I'm not going to spoil this for anybody, but we didn't know where it was going to go. And you had given an interview recently that I really, I thought said it well, and that Leslie's a bit of an anti-hero.
In every way, and I think we see that lesson, sadly, we see that less and less in female characters in cinema, which is very strange, actually, because if you think about Panic in Needle Park, I feel like I've referenced that film so many times talking about this, or Scarecrow. You know, it's this film in many ways was shot on film in 19 days. It's a hark back to 70s cinema. We would do 10 scenes a day sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a character-driven film, and there's an intimacy to it, and a total lack of sensationalism as well. So the reason that the piece moved me so much was because it was written by Leslie's son, and he wrote for her in this film what she really couldn't attain in life. Her ending was a little different, and I think that's the incredible power of cinema. There are people who struggle with addiction the way Leslie does, and she, aside from that, what's important to note is that she's vivacious and fun, and she's magnetic. You want to be around her. This woman wins the lottery very early on, and this is based on a true story, and then she sadly, and generously, somewhat generously, buys everybody drinks in the bar for the next year and a half until she becomes homeless and penniless, and everyone's turned their back on her. There are so many things to unpack in that. You know, the first of them is just wanting acceptance in your community.
Right.
You know, desperately craving that love. But she also has this deep hole inside that cannot be satiated by anything. It doesn't matter how many drinks, cigarettes, lines of whatever. There's nothing that can fill that, really, other than the love she has for her son. And I think for some people in life, that love turns them around. It's not about the strength of the love. It's just about whether they're lucky enough for it to, I suppose, get in there and have that, for it to save them. You know, I mean, life's so hard and also so wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people who go through this journey are some of the most magnetic, captivating personalities that that you have the fortune to be touched by in life. And because of that, they're perhaps a little too shiny for the world. And I think there's something about Leslie's story that we could all identify with, which is that she's very aware of the reality that she's not, that it's not her that's broken. You know, I mean, she's not doing very well. She struggles a lot. But she's really in touch with the idea that it's everything else. The system's broken.
Right.
And she doesn't want to clean toilets.
Right.
You know, she has these dreams that she can't execute. She doesn't have the tools. She's given 150 grand. It's enough to sort of drink yourself to death, really. You know, but it's not to somebody not equipped with the tools to know how to invest that, or how, you know, I mean, who from her background. From my background, if that had happened to me when I was her age, I wouldn't have known anybody who was, I wouldn't have had any guidance in that way. And on top of that, she's battling this awful addiction.
Yeah, and that was and you said something just now. You said 17 days it took to shoot this?
I might have shaved 2 off, 19.
Okay, 19 days. So 19 days to shoot this, and not only is that impressive just in the number alone, but of where you need to go mentally for that. The idea, and the other thing, that it is not easy to play someone who is addicted. It is not easy to play someone who is. It's not easy to play junk in general, whether it's in a comedy. And so to do it so convincingly, where do you need to go, if you don't mind asking? Like, how do you get there and be able to stay there in 19 days? And obviously, from the great performances you had around you, with whether it's Mark Maron, Allison Janney, but how do you do that, stay in there, and then come out of it going, what do you have to do afterwards to say, I need some time?
Well, I didn't get any.
No.
We shot. I was working on Amsterdam before we shot this, prepping that, and then we started shooting it a few days after we wrapped this. I think all the things that have you seen Bill Nye's performance in Living?
I have not yet. No, I know.
It's an extraordinary performance, and when I think about his performance in that film, I think about Bill having taken in everything in his life. I said this to him when I saw it, having taken in everything in his life, and then this performance almost being the marker of all of that bleeding out through his eyes. I mean, he says very little actually says very little in the film. He's a man of very few words, the character, but through his eyes, you see how very much he's experienced, and without him having to really do anything except not speak. Right. And it creates this type of repression that we're all familiar with, like that's crying out through your eyes, help me, but with your mouth closed, not speaking. And I think having watched that performance, it made me think of when we were making To Leslie, because this is one of the 4 films that I've been out talking about. Mm-hmm. It's also the one with the least financial support, because we don't have a big platform behind us.
Right.
But it's, I think, just having to commit to stepping into that experience that you've had in your own life, and having looked into those sort of empty eyes, or the painful, a painful experience someone's having. It all makes a mark on your soul, doesn't it? Especially if it's a family member or somebody, a dear friend who you love. So I think really life experience more than anything. And of course, I didn't grow up in Lubbock, Texas. And
right.
Our lives are very
Could have fooled me.
And that was something that was really satisfying, planning her life out, because actually the story's not based in Texas. It's the original story this is based on was not in Texas. So really this is its own beast, the film. But I think just life experience, really. And I don't think I'm alone in having that experience. I don't think I've ever made a film where, there was one screening and it was like, I was talking to hundreds of people, and everybody came up to me and said, you made me think of this person. I've had this experience. And I think the reason we were able to achieve that was I think mainly the driving force of these 19 days, which, as you said, sort of emotionally and in terms of intoxication, we're all over the map, is the sort of trifecta of our director, Michael Morris, like me having to drive it, if you know what I mean, because I'm in every scene, and me having to drive. We didn't have any time to piss about, for want of a better phrase. And our DP Larkin, who also shot Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, wow.
It's a brilliant.
Yeah.
And with film, we didn't have a lot of film as well. So, all sorts of things happen. You roll out, processing time's difficult. Yeah. It was the height of the pandemic. It was at the end of 2020, and it was a very, very difficult time. So we weren't allowed to be close to each other either. That was an extraordinary experience in itself, because I was playing a character who was surrounded by people and deeply lonely.
I was going to ask you if that helped or hurt the performance. A little bit of both, maybe.
No, I think everything helps. I don't think anything ever.
Well, I meant as far as being around from the I should say hurting as far as the preparation for the performance when it comes to, because you said you someone who's around people all the time and then being away, but then at the same point you're kind of like, maybe that's what she is. Maybe she feels trapped a lot of times too. So
I tend to feel the only thing that can hurt a performance is you getting into your own head and thinking that was terribly good. Then
right.
That's probably the worst thing you've ever done.
Well, it really, and as you said, there was a lot of stuff that it just reminded me of. And I think that one of the things, and you had mentioned this in the beginning of this conversation, was not to look at people with this kind of sense of judgment and more of a kind of an understanding. And I think that one of those things I notice all the time, especially in Los Angeles, there's like a big population of people who don't have homes, people who are on the street. And what this movie did, and I brought it up a few times to my wife afterwards, and it was this understanding. There's a certain scene as you're going to see your son the first time off the bus after it's been, and you saw this interview with her where she was so vibrant in the beginning, where she was like jumping up and down, and that's where she was to where she then ultimately was driven to. And I immediately said, as now, I don't think I'm ever going to, I've always done this, but I think even more so to look and say, don't judge. How did that person get there? What's the story? How can they be helped? These types of things. And I think that that's very important, why I think a lot of people need to see this film.
Have you seen Barbara Loden's Wonder?
I did, yes.
So in that same way that we spend time with Wonder,
yeah,
that was really a cornerstone for Michael and I with Leslie.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm so happy you've seen it, because it's just one of the most beautiful films.
That's because of Perry Nemiroff. She was all these she's my go-to when it comes to certain films that I need to know about. I lean to Perry. But yes, so I mean, but that particular moment was something. And then the idea that you talked about Bloodline, and
well, it's funny you should mention that moment, actually, because Owen played my son on Bloodline.
I know.
And
I know.
We have this history, and we hadn't seen each other for the same amount of time that the characters hadn't seen each other for in the film.
Wow.
So I'd seen him, the last time I saw him, he was,
yeah.
I feel awful saying this in interviews over and over again recently, because he's a grown man and a wonderful actor, but he was a kid when I met him, and his mum was there chaperoning and everything. Yeah. I'm sure he won't mind me saying that.
That's the truth.
He was a kid, and then so when we worked together again, one of the first things that he saw was Leslie stepping off the bus when she's homeless, and it's a very difficult thing to see. It was very difficult I could see how hard it was for him to see. And that was a really beautiful moment for Leslie.
Yeah.
I mean, she's overcome with joy, to see him.
Yeah.
And he's has so much dignity, and he's so well turned out, and she's filled with pride, even though she's sort of, in those scenes when you look at her, you can really smell how dark it's gotten.
Mm-hmm. Well, working with Owen again, how did that come about? Just, oh wow, so we cast, and I worked with him, or was there a suggestion on your part?
No, it was Michael. I mean, well, it's a long story, but basically they needed somebody on Bloodline who looked like Ben Mendelsohn for a photograph. Yeah. And so they took a photograph of this kid who hadn't done much from Florida. And he ended up being, and then the writers started writing for that character, and everyone thought, oh my God, I think we've actually seen him, on the show, in an image. And so they auditioned him, and he was just extraordinary and fantastic. And he was so good that he ended up playing two parts on the show, Ben's younger self and his son.
Right.
So that was the beginning of his career, and he would, I was playing a very, very young mother compared to his character, if you know what I mean. So we were the two younger people on set at the time, and he would ask me about training and about what it was like to go to RADA, and the merits of doing that and not doing that. And he just started. I mean,
he was fantastic in the show.
And he's such a brilliant actor.
He really is. It was nice to see you guys kind of working together again, because I right away I was like, oh, because my wife and I watched Bloodline, and I will say, you'd said that from film, and whether it's what you had done, Birdman, these movies that you've done with film and theater has been your thing. You said the television thing was a little.
the thing that confuses me about television is that in some setups, this really isn't my thing, is that the door seems to be revolving and there are directors coming in and out all the time. And it's very difficult, each of those directors, as much as they want to do the job, perhaps also have their passion project that they want to do that's not that. And it goes without saying that we all want to, if we can, as much as possible, work on those things that everybody's just desperate to make.
Well, so with that, and again, I know it was just announced, and you can't really go into detail with it because the announcement of The Palace kind of had come out, and that's going to be HBO Max, and with Kate Winslet and from Succession and creators, and so was that the reason why you were going back to TV, because it was one focused project?
Well, Stephen Frears is directing that.
Okay, I thought
so.
Okay,
that's the. He's helming it. He's the helmsman, and so that's many things. Firstly, it's one of the most brilliant things that I've read in about 10 years. So I'm really, really excited about it. But also, and firstly, really Kate, who we've just finished making the Lee Miller biopic together. And she's just such a... I don't have words. She's such a generous, beautiful human, lovely, just the best, most down-to-earth, lovely human.
I love hearing that.
And extraordinarily talented, and it was so brilliant to work with her. So when we sort of talked about that, the idea of doing that with Kate and with Stephen is, that's an unmissable opportunity. So really, really excited. We're in pre-production now. Really, really excited.
So that basically goes into what you're saying, that when it comes to a project, a passion project, then that's what gets you excited, that you want to do it, as opposed to the revolving doors. And
also there's something different to episodic television as opposed to a mini-series. Right. This is a mini-series. Right. And I produced a mini-series last year as well. With Juho Kuosmanen directing, who directed... Did you see his film?
Which one?
Why is his film escaping my mind now? Compartment Number 6.
I did not see it, no.
It was the entrance for Finland.
Okay.
At the Academy. It's a beautiful film. Both of his films are beautiful. He has two. But that's a wonderful experience, because then you can curate an experience with... I'm really just filmmaker driven.
Yeah, it seems.
So you can even do something episodic, but with a fantastic film director, and you can craft the piece almost like a long film,
right?
Rather than people coming in and out, and lots of different writers, and I always get a bit lost in that environment, and I haven't quite worked out why, but I don't think it's my
cup of tea.
Yeah.
So, and with that, you've worked with the Duffer Brothers as well. So that
seems like 100 years ago. Probably was.
Well, it's between Duffer Brothers, and then you worked with... It feels like you've worked with every Skarsgård.
I literally almost have.
It seems like it. Yeah. And that's why I asked when you worked with the Duffer Brothers. I guess it was from 2012. Because they had this final season of Stranger Things, is that something, because it's not necessarily episodic, they shoot those like movies. If that kind of came across, is that your cup of tea particular? If they were like, hey, we'd have something for you in Stranger Things, the final season, would you want to do that?
Oh, I think they're fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't think they need me on the end of Stranger Things, do they?
No, you don't think so?
No, God, they can get somebody much more splashy.
Oh, come on. But see, that's the thing, though. I don't think splashy is the thing with that show, though. I think it's a matter of also when it comes to like talent, and I think that as I said, and one of the main reasons I really wanted to speak to you today, and is that movie, like, to be frank, kicked my ass. It really did, and in the best way possible, and I think that more people need to see it because of that and the understanding, but not just because of what we just talked about for the last 10, 12 minutes, but showing it's not about flashy. It's about what can that person make me feel? And I think that that's exactly what you do. And I'd love to see in something like that. I'd love to see in other things that you want to be challenged in, obviously, but I want to see you in more stuff like that as well.
I think that's the thing. I mean, I just really, truly love film.
Yeah.
And I love theatre, and those two things are very, very close to my heart. So those are the things that always for me, end up at the top of the pile.
Yeah.
And I find it a mini-series quite similar to film.
I see that. I mean, and I think that's also one of the things with streaming in general, is where you could do something like that, because I think streaming, and you can tell me if I feel like it's just changed the game as far as what actors can do, and the idea of just really exploration inside of a character. Because you mentioned with Kate Winslet, the Mayor of Easttown, and what she was able to do in that. I mean, just chef's kiss. So good with that performance in general. But I had seen her in an interview where she was talking about they don't know if there's going to be a season 2 or not. It wasn't intended for necessarily a season 2 because, as you said, it was about the exploration of a character and what you can dive deep inside of doing. But do you find there's way more opportunities for not just in film though, with exploration into character, with I guess it's really just going to depend on who is making it, right, and who's writing it.
I mean, I think if you so I started in theatre when I was very young. I did a lot of like very by the book classical stuff, etc. Blah blah blah. I think when you're from that background and you've done a Chekhov, for 6 months, every night after night, even comparing something episodic that keeps going and going and going, it could never really make a dent even in the amount that you manage to delve in a theatre production in a sense, because you're sort of reliving over and over again in theatre, So I do find some of those episodic things that keep going for a long, long time interesting, and I can see how actors like to have a lot of time to expand and to explore their character in that sort of way. But I don't always feel that I feel a lot of them get lost, and those ones that don't get lost, like, they lose their way,
right,
narratively and therefore emotionally and all the other ways. But and people, like I said, people leave, and the people whose kernel it was in the beginning are no longer there.
Right, and the character can look dramatically different at some point because of all of that kind of mixing together, maybe.
Yes, and that's where we're the gatekeepers as actors. That's our job, to maintain that. But sometimes it's, I mean, of course, you're at the mercy of many, many things, and so it's very strange. It's like having absolutely no idea who your character is, really, because it's being consistently written for you. Alan Rickman talked about that with the Harry Potters, and that was why he had to know what was happening before anybody else did, because he really didn't know who he was playing at a certain point.
Yeah,
he had to insist upon.
I remember hearing that. Yeah.
Just as a very kind of mainstream example of that, but
yeah.
know.
Well, and with the example of like theater, and I watched something recently with when you were talking about Birdman, and you talked about I think that there was such a theatrical, obviously from the theater, the one shot that was able to take, and I know you'd spoken about this before, but and being in that performance and having to maneuver around and doing all that, is you have to like kind of dive behind things in order. Can you tell me, did that take you out of the performance at all, or did it take you out to where you're like, it's going to be tough? How do you prepare for it, I should say?
Sometimes that was certainly a feat. But the great thing is, with a film, again, we're all living out somebody's vision, and he's standing right in front of us.
Yeah.
And he has the greatest partners with whom he always works. Everyone's a trusted friend. And, to bump into Chivo is an honour.
Sure.
We all did it quite a lot on that one. But have you seen Bardo?
Yes.
I think it's such
he's something else. He's just something else. He really is.
He's so courageous, and he's got a lion's heart.
Yep.
But it was a very strange experience, because it was so clear to all of us that we were doing, which is very familiar, because it feels almost like choreography. But it was so clear to all of us we were trying to achieve something that was technically, that had been touched on before and done in different ways. Russian Ark is one example, but hadn't quite been achieved in this same way. It's certainly not on this scale, because the film bleeds into the protagonist's psyche.
Yeah.
So it becomes magical in every sense, whereas Russian Ark is more you see the history, you see a lot of history of Russia in it, but it's less a dream, and so I think the thing was to just absolutely, whether we had to do it 10 times or 150 times, and that sometimes did happen, the entire 6 scenes, because the movement was very difficult. You just had to immerse yourself every single time as if it was which is our job. The absolute first time that you were doing it, and discover it every single time, so that you didn't give 150 versions of something that was a little laboured and not very present, or certainly not brilliant. And it was really hard to maintain. That was the difficulty.
Did you know when you guys were on set? Did you kind of feel it from working with him, going, "Oh, this is going to be something. This is going to be pretty special."
In every way.
Yeah.
But he creates that environment. Like there are auteurs that you start a film and you realize you're not starting off on the blocks, on a running line. This you're starting from a place of total complicity and imagination. He has all the crew stand together, and before you start the actual shoot, the crew and the cast, and you very much feel like you're forming a union. It's just a very, very difficult thing to do. We get to 7 p.m. sometimes at night. We'd been at work since 7 a.m. and we wouldn't have anything to can. And that was an extraordinary situation. It wasn't because things were going wrong. It was because
so much
it
details.
Was a very different way of shooting.
Yeah.
But I worked with a lot of directors who shoot in very different ways. Mike Leigh was one of the first people that I worked with, and that experience was really formative and for me. And I'm so grateful for it, because has such integrity, and he's incredibly character driven and has a really unique and secret sort of process, which is that was just the most. I mean, I'm in the film for about 2.5 minutes. I worked on it for 7 months.
Wow.
And I couldn't be more grateful, for that experience.
Well, I have to thank you for sitting down here today and talking with us. It was an absolute pleasure, and thank you again for the performance. Thank you for the film. And if there's anything that, for people out there that haven't had an opportunity to see it, is there anything in general that they should know kind of going into it, or just to find it in general?
I think, it gets, you say in America, gnarly.
Yeah.
It gets pretty gnarly, but I'd say watch it and hold on, because there's I think you'll walk away from it feeling renewed.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so very much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, please check out To Leslie. Andrea, thank you once again.
Well, thanks so much.
Okay, everybody. All right, once again, thank you to Andrea Riseborough. Brett, how awesome was she?
Wonderful. And again, just like Diego Luna, I mean, like our 2 big guests we've had in there, just, nice to meet you, very, and then the behind the scenes kind of banter was just, they were totally casual, totally fun, and I knew you were having fun and enjoying yourself interviewing.
She was great.
And Perry too.
And you because Roxy, full disclosure, I was going to have Roxy on, but she was hosting SEN Live, because we had our 1-2 punch back in the day. But as far as interviews go,
yeah, but we'll be doing more.
We're doing more, but
I'm gonna shoehorn myself in.
No, we'll get you in there for sure. But anyway, so she's really great, and I hope, please comment and let me know what you thought of the interview. I need to know, and I want more people to see it, because we'll get more guests like Andrea. So, all right, before we get out of here today, Roxy, let's tell some people what they should be watching this week on the TVs. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Ooh,
right.
It's a week.
All right, here we go. So, first one.
Okay, so if you watch the Golden Globes this week, there might be some shows that you haven't watched and people winning for those shows, and you haven't seen them, and you're wondering, is it really worth the hype? Which is why I put Euphoria on this list, because just for Zendaya's performance alone, I think that this show is worthwhile. It is a very difficult watch. Kristian is...
No, don't worry. You don't even address it. It'll still be the picture. Edits.
It is a very, very difficult watch. Like, I think that if Kristian and Brett haven't seen it yet, I think you two in particular would have a really hard time watching it because it does show a lot of what teenage girls go through at the worst of it. And they do get into drugs and sex and rock and roll and all of the things.
Pass.
It is
Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah.
But if you at one point in life were a teenage girl struggling, you watch it and you're like, ooh, this totally, yeah, like you, Brett, a teenage girl. You feel for it. And then even if you weren't ever, it's so beautifully artistically shot and done. And Zendaya is amazing. All the performances are amazing. And I think that a lot of people think it got better in season 2. I think season 3 is going to be even better. It's building, it's growing, and she deserves all of the awards that she continues to get.
All right, so that's HBO Max.
Yeah, that's HBO Max.
All right, next one.
Inventing Anna. If you're like me, you're obsessed with Julia Garner, and she was nominated for this. She won for Ozark at the Globes, and I have not spoken about Inventing Anna because it came out at a time where so many shows were coming out, like The Dropout and like We Crashed and all of those true crime shows that don't have to do with murder necessarily.
It's murder.
Right. So Inventing Anna, where there's no murder, is really good. And you kind of watch Julia Garner's performance and you're like, is she not good in this? But what is that accent? And then you look up videos of the actual
Just
Anna
like it.
Delvey
Yeah.
and you're like, holy shit, the whole point is this woman's a con artist. Her voice isn't real.
Yeah. So
She's made up an accent.
So it's the same thing as what's her face, the other one, the Elizabeth
Holmes, yeah,
right.
exactly. It's the same thing as Amanda Seyfried. It's a tit for tat. Amanda, I think, won the Globe for this for Dropout, but the two of them had two of the best performances of the year by far. And Inventing Anna, if you don't know the story of Anna Delvey, it's fascinating. This woman scams the biggest people on
Planet Earth.
I was going to call it Broadway. It's not it. Where's all the money?
Wall Street?
Wall Street.
Planet Earth.
I'm with it. I have a lot of money in my savings account on Wall Street. She scams them all out of millions and millions of dollars. It's like crazy to watch this. She, for all intents and purposes, she's a little girl and she just scams them all. It's insane. So check
She's
this
like
one
the
out.
so she's like the what? The female Bernie Madoff?
Kind of,
Yeah.
but like a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, she is like a kid. With,
So it sounds like Bernie Madoff meets Catch Me If You Can.
yeah, a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah, because there's also the travel element
Yeah.
of it too. I mean, this woman is the greatest con artist we've ever seen. She was sent to prison, and she like started doing TikToks from there about this and watching the show. And it is this. She's the same person as Julia
Wow.
Garner's character. It's crazy. So
All right.
go back and watch this if you missed it.
I've
It's
heard really good things about it. So all right, so this is and that's on Netflix.
Yeah.
All right, here's the next one.
I wanted to talk a little bit about Ryan Murphy's shows because
Yeah, he was honored at Globes.
He was honored at the Globes, and Feud is a show that I think is so underrated, and they're going to be doing a second season this year. So 5 years later, they are doing a second
wow.
season of Feud, and I want to tell you guys, this is crazy. Even me paying attention to all TV, I was not paying attention to who's going to be in the second season of Feud. It's going to be Demi Moore, Callista Flockhart, Diane Lane, Molly Ringwald, Naomi Watts, and it's all directed by Gus Van Sant, who,
Oh, wow,
of
yeah,
course,
yeah.
did
Good
Good
Will
Will
Hunting.
Hunting, which is my favorite movie. So that's coming this year. So if you want to get a taste of Feud, I definitely recommend watching this. It's like if you are interested in old Hollywood at all, that's where Ryan Murphy really shines. He understands what this business used to look like, and he really brings up the tension in Feud. It's one of his best shows and definitely his most underrated one. So I think check that out if you're interested in Ryan Murphy. And
Who's
why
having a
he's
better run right now, Ryan Murphy or Taylor Sheridan?
Ryan Murphy's just been having a run for 20 years.
I'm saying right now.
So I think Taylor Sheridan.
Yeah,
I mean, what he's doing right now
It's insane.
is insane.
it's insane. All right,
Insane.
So that's now. So that's Feud. That what's that? Is that on? That's on FX.
Yeah,
Hulu?
so Hulu. Must
Okay.
be Hulu then.
Let me double check.
FX just
Yeah,
absolutely
there you go.
slaps.
FX Hulu. Cool. All right, next one.
And while we're on Ryan Murphy, and if you listened to his speech last night, he gave all the flowers to MJ Rodriguez. So I wanted, 2 nights ago, I wanted to recognize Pose. Pose is a show that I started watching late because everybody who I know who watches TV was like, trust me, this is a show you cannot miss. Pose is one of the best shows of this last decade. And I think because the concept is so foreign to a lot of us, like this ballroom dance back in the Vogue era.
Ballroom dance.
It's a ballroom dance. Yeah.
It's
You know what?
today's
That's the
ballroom
Mandela
dance.
effect. You thought it was
You
ballroom
thought it was
blitz,
ballroom, but it's actually ballroom dance.
Right.
Means what?
I loved that scene. in Pose.
Ballroom dance.
It was really
ballroom dance.
So this is the greatest performances. It is the first time that a trans actress was recognized at the Globes. It is just like drama packed. It's also going through the time period in New York with the AIDS epidemic. It is like so beautiful and sad and heartwarming, and I've never seen a show like it. And it's only, I think, 3 seasons, and it had an unbelievable ending. So if you want something that's fully wrapped, that is excellent, that probably is different than the world you're living in and gives you a whole window into a whole new world, definitely Pose. Okay. Really, really great.
And that's on what, same thing?
Yeah.
All right, FX.
That's FX.
Okay, so,
Another Ryan Murphy project.
and last.
Okay. No, not last. There's one more after
There is
this.
last one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ali Wong, if you haven't, I've been going through specials, you guys know, and I've been going through the best of 2022 to make sure I didn't miss anything. So I rewatched this Ali Wong special because I had watched it kind of in the background. I don't know if this is how you feel about who you guys like as stand-ups.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys seen this special?
Yeah. Yeah.
This one, I haven't seen this one, no.
The shit she says in this, Kristian,
Yeah.
I'm like, I would never, ever have the balls to do what she did.
Right, well, such as?
She just straight up is like, I want to cheat on my husband every second of every day. But by the way, I don't know this, but I think they got divorced.
Yeah.
after this.
okay.
That's what my wife told me when we were watching it.
Like she's like, this is how I feel about every man. The thing she says about, she opens up actually how she's feeling.
It's not a good sell in the special so far.
It's hysterical, but you're like, holy shit, this woman is laying it all out on the line. Like, she does not give a fuck what the ramifications are for this. And I just had a lot of respect, not for what she wants to do by cheating on her husband, but just the fact that she's like, my comedy comes before anything else before my family.
She just wants to talk. She just wants to talk about what's on her mind.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
And it was funny as hell and cringe, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like the way she talks about orgasming and shit, like just whatever it was, I was like, holy shit.
I know what you're talking about.
I'm crazy raunchy, and I would never, and my cap's off to you because you're hysterical. She's hysterical.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I know
really,
what she's
really
talking about. It's you're like,
what? Yeah, you're like, what? You're watching and you're legitimately like, what? Okay, this is my show of the week, though. This is my, if you're going to watch one of my shows, if you're going to watch one show.
what is this?
What is this?
What you're watching.
Wait, Roxy, come on. What is
Come
this?
on, what is this show? Tell us what this is.
Kristian's like,
It's a
what
show.
is this? She's
What
trying
is
to
this?
It's on Netflix. It's called Don't Pick Up the Phone.
Oh, okay.
This is a docu-series that is 3 episodes
What's
long.
it about?
What is this show about? What's it on? Is it a television show?
television show as opposed to. Is this a television show?
Is this a
Did you like that
program?
one, Brett?
Is this a program?
Is this going to interrupt with my stories?
You guys happy with yourselves right now? It's a good one. I also want to let you guys know that I said if there's one show you have to watch, and that's the one you wanted to interrupt.
That's the one we're going to interrupt. Oh, that's rough. Come on, spit it out, Rox. What's the show?
Is this TV?
Okay. Don't pick up the phone. I wonder if you guys remember the story. I do not. It took place in the late 90s, early 2000s. And what happened was there was this one guy going around calling all of these fast food restaurants, pretending to be a cop and convincing the managers to strip search their employees. What? And it happened to hundreds of places, mostly McDonald's, but all different fast food places. Shit. He would get the manager. He would say, this girl, this is a police officer. This woman was caught stealing a customer's wallet. She's 5 feet tall, very small build. That's what he would say. And everybody had an employee like that. We need you to strip search her. And the manager would bring them into the office, and he would convince them to get her completely naked, sit on their lap. The manager would get them completely naked, sit on their lap. One of the managers had them give her a blowjob because they said, We need to know if it's down her throat, the money. Like, these people, you think that there's something seriously wrong with them, but they all, like, talk about how they just were following authority, and all of a sudden they realize they're in a position where they're like, wait, what? Hundreds of times this happened. And hundreds of times. This is a 3-part series. Watching it, my jaw was on the ground because it's all the people being interviewed, the people this happened to, the managers, the lawyers of these people, them trying to find the man making the phone calls.
Did they ever find him?
I don't want to tell you.
Oh, okay.
Man.
This series was nuts. I was like, what the fuck is this story?
Wow.
And then
what is this?
It stopped in 2004. It went until 2004. What is this? That's kind of what I was asking the whole time watching this.
So, but this person that's making these calls doesn't witness any of this. It's all about just hearing about.
Just to see if he could do it.
And it worked hundreds of times.
Do you think it'd work on my wife? I
And
told her there was some money hidden down her throat.
Well, because normal people like us. Try it. Let us know. Normal people like us, you hear this.
Just curious. I don't know if this was more of a infotainment. Sorry.
Go ahead. What's your show about?
You hear this, and normal people like us are like, why would a manager do that? That would never do that. Right. They bring in this psychologist to explain how many people actually would. Like, and why a normal person would do this. And they show like all of these tests that have happened with people, and bring in proof like you could and you might do this, which is like beyond, because I'm sitting here like, no fucking way.
Right.
I would never fucking
meanwhile,
do
Brett's
that.
asking if you can do it to his wife.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Were there female managers too, or was it all they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mostly, they would ask the female managers, like, because they would say, I'm sure you have to get back to work. Is there a male you could have conduct this? But sometimes it would be the women.
Wow.
Jeez.
That's
a crazy story. It's
crazy. Watching this was like, how is this not the #1 show on right now?
Right. I mean, well, there you go.
It came out, I think, mid-December. It's on Netflix. It's 3 parts. They're like 45 minutes to an hour each. The entire thing was enticing. It's so sad.
It's a great photo, by the way.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so... Yeah, I would assume that they didn't get this guy. That's my guess. Because
I'll tell you, it's so much more complicated than that.
Yeah.
That it's disturbing.
All right, I might check that one out for sure.
It is fascinating.
Are you watching 1923 yet?
Yeah, I am, but I'm an episode behind.
Where you've
Maybe
seen
2 episodes behind.
You haven't seen episode 3 yet? The holy shit episode.
No, I guess
Okay.
not. I've only seen. I think there's
some.
4 episodes or 5.
There's 4, I think. Yeah, there's 4.
I've only seen 2.
Okay, so what do you think so far?
I really like it. I really like it. These stories, are they tying together in 3?
Yeah, I don't want to ruin it for you, but yeah.
Okay.
It all ties together.
Okay.
Because you want to know how the Native American story ties in, right?
Yeah, because that story is the one that to me is the most compelling, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so visceral that I feel sick.
It's tough to watch that one. Yeah.
Watching that, and I think it's going to tie together because of the grandma.
So they're on break. They're on break until February 5th. It's a hiatus until
the show is so well done.
Yeah, it is.
But I watch all his shit.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, are you caught up on Tulsa King?
I'm 3 behind but I'm
You have to catch up.
Oh, I will. I'm going to binge it all because especially now so Sadie is like in love with 1928. It's like that's the
really
show.
good.
It's your favorite year.
Well, it's also because it's got everything.
Why?
It's just forever, but it's got everything. It's got romance. It's got like the thing going on in Africa. That's how good is that guy though? I'm telling you, that guy's gonna be a star.
He's excellent.
Yeah,
I like that girl too.
She's great. I think that guy is our next big action star.
He's really good.
He's really good.
He's really good. The romance stuff, I was like, oh my god, my pitter patter heart.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, that's what this show does. It can get people in like if you're turned off by the romance side of it, it's like don't worry, keep watching and watch this crazy shit go down. And if you're like, well, this is a little too brutal for me, don't worry. There's some of this. It's like it's got everything.
Some of it, I don't usually say this, but some of the brutal stuff.
It's hard to watch.
Oh my god, not just
4 has a very hard one.
Sometimes I'll pause it and go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not gonna play.
Sadie was doing this. Like she's like, just tell me when it's over.
Do you know that part? I'm gonna keep it vague, but
Okay.
outdoors in the box.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
Yeah. She's so good, that actress. She's
I
so
mean, holy
good.
shit, she's
Yeah,
like
she's really good.
unbelievably talented.
All right, look, we went over, but that's fine.
Oh,
A lot of great picks from Roxy.
How could that have happened?
I don't know. I'd also say, 1923 is one I will be getting into. I will be getting into a few. What did I say? Tulsa King. I'll finish Tulsa King for sure. Tulsa King. What I will say about Tulsa King before we wrap, though, is that you can tell that this, and I was talking to my buddy David about this as well. You can tell the shift in this show. Like when the show started, it was like a mix of like Get Shorty and something and like, a gangster story, but it was kind of weighing on like the comedy was there too. It's gotten significantly more serious in a good way in the last few episodes that I've seen. I don't know if it continues.
I want to know
way.
what you think about the finale.
Okay. The finale's over. It aired.
Oh, I figured that was the finale.
Oh,
I
okay.
guess it might not be.
I don't know.
What happens feels like a finale. I loved what they did.
Okay, cool.
I've seen online some mixed reviews.
Okay.
But
All right.
I think I'm loving this show.
All right. Well, look.
I think it's so good. And oh my God, what's up with my Sly crush?
Yeah, I know. Look at you. Hey, good for you.
I'm like, whoa, I'm missing out on
Maybe you need to go back and watch some of my early stuff. You know what I mean?
I have.
Oh, how about you want a Sly crush? You want a Sly crush? I'll give you a Sly crush. How about this? Remember this one, Brett?
Yeah, get it. Look at that key.
But Wiser, you created a monster, and they call him Frankenstein. And the tavern down the street is a laboratory where he makes the transformation all the time.
Laboratory.
And a stein of Dr. Bud is a pint of monster blood, and it does affect me different every time.
It's amazing.
It's layered.
It's
What
good,
was that
right?
from? That was-
Rhinestone.
Woo.
Yeah. Anyway,
They don't make them like that anymore.
Nope.
I don't know what Rhinestone is, but are there strippers in it?
Dolly Parton's in it.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit. I love Dolly.
Go and see it. All right, listen. Thank you for joining us. Make sure, if there's any other shows, by the way, first of all, Roxy loves when you comment. Let her know if you've watched any of the shows that she's not only recommended for this episode, but anything that she has recommended. Let us know. And maybe there's something that she hasn't watched that you think that she should. So she's always up for some suggestions. So please list that in the comments below. I want to know what you guys thought of the interview with Andrea Riseborough. Please let me know. It is very, very important, as I have been saying time and time again. Please help us with the comments. If you put it, we're trying to get to 1,000 comments, 1,000 likes every episode. If you do that, it helps in the algorithm. It helps more people see the show, and it helps it helps us get more guests like Andrea. So please, please, please comment. Let me know what you thought of it. I am very, very curious. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We're close. We're like 63,000 right now. We're on the road to 70, and we need your help. Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. Don't forget about Black Knight shirt. That's up there right now. Patreon.com/TheBigThingShow. So, for myself, Brett Sheridan, Roxy Stryer, we're us. You're you. And we'll see you on the flip side. All right. Peace.